You ever come home from work, groceries melting in the trunk, only to find someone else's car parked right in your driveway like they live there? Yeah, that happened to me. Not once, not twice. We're talking over and over again. And the best part? The woman doing it actually believed she had the right to be there. No, seriously. She told me, to my face, that my driveway wasn't actually private property. But we'll get to that insanity in a bit. Let me start from the beginning. So I live in this quiet cul-de-sac just outside Nashville. Most of my neighbors are chill. We wave, keep to ourselves, nothing dramatic. My house sits at the end of the street with a long private driveway. Important detail. I need that space for my car, my girlfriend's car, and especially for my dad. He's in his 70s with bad arthritis, and I like to make sure he can pull right up when he visits so he doesn't have to stumble across uneven sidewalks. Anyway, everything was peaceful until Stephanie moved in across the street. Now, Stephanie, picture a woman in her 40s, always wearing gym leggings that haven't seen a treadmill in years, latte cup basically fused to her hand. The first time I saw her car in my driveway, I figured, hey, honest mistake. She's new. Maybe she thought it was shared space or something. I walked over, knocked on her door, and asked her nicely to move. She gave me this fake sing-song, "Oh, sorry," and pulled out. Cool. Problem solved, right? Nope. Next week, same thing. I get home from work, and there's her shiny SUV angled halfway across the concrete like it owned the place. I knock again, same routine. This time she says she was just running in for a sandwich. Except her windshield had leaves on it. So unless she made that sandwich with a side of autumn, I'm not buying it. By the fourth time, she wasn't even pretending anymore. I confronted her, and she actually waved me off like I was interrupting her Netflix. "You're not using it all the time," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's just more convenient for me to unload here." "Excuse me? I'm paying taxes on this house." I mow the grass, I shovel the snow, and somehow this woman decided my driveway was her personal loading dock because it saves her 30 extra steps? That's when I knew. This wasn't confusion. This was entitlement. And I'll be honest, I tried to be patient. I really did. But when she started arguing with my dad, who she literally trapped in his own car one day, that was the last straw. I stopped asking nicely, and I started fighting back. But oh, Stephanie wasn't ready for what came next. Stick around. It gets better. After that whole mess with my dad getting boxed in, I knew Stephanie wasn't just inconsiderate, she was delusional. Like, genuinely believed she could do whatever she wanted just because, what? She lived across the street? And I wish I could tell you that was the worst of it, but nope. She doubled down. The week after the cupcake incident, I noticed she'd gotten bold. Her car started showing up in my driveway even when I was home. Like I'd be in the kitchen doing dishes, look out the window, and boom. Her SUV just casually parked there like she paid rent. No knock on the door, no heads up, nothing. Just there. At first, I'd go over, ring her doorbell, ask her, again, to move her car. But she started getting annoyed with me. One time, she opened the door with this heavy sigh, looked me up and down and said, "Seriously? Again?" I swear I almost laughed. "Again? I should be asking you that, lady." "I live across the street," she said one day, arms folded like she was laying down the law. "It's not like I'm a stranger." That's when I realized something. Stephanie honestly thought proximity gave her permission. In her mind, being my neighbor meant she had access to my property. Like we were in some kind of suburban timeshare situation and my driveway was a shared amenity. But the kicker? Oh, it gets better. One afternoon, I caught her outside as she was leaving her car in my driveway. Just straight up parked, got out with a few grocery bags like this was her garage. I came out and said, "Stephanie, you can't keep doing this. This is private property." She didn't even blink. "This isn't really your driveway, you know," she said. "It's part of the easement." I stared at her. No. The easement is that tiny grass strip between the sidewalk and the curb. This question mark? This is a poured concrete driveway leading directly to my garage. "That's your interpretation," she snapped and walked off. "My interpretation?" "Lady, it's literally on the property survey." I wanted to scream, but instead, I just stood there, jaw clenched, wondering how someone could be so confident and so wrong at the same time. That night, I pulled out my file cabinet, found the old closing documents for my house, and reread the plat map, just to calm myself down. Yep, as expected. That driveway was entirely within my property line, but I wasn't going to leave it at that. I emailed the city zoning office the next morning and asked for something in writing. Meanwhile, things with Stephanie just escalated. A few days later, I came home from work and found her car diagonally parked across my driveway. Not just in it, across it, like she was trying to make a statement. There was literally no way for me or anyone else to squeeze past her car, even with a scooter. She wasn't home. And that's when something in me snapped. No more knocking, no more polite conversations. I was done being the nice guy. I parked my car right behind hers, blocking her in completely. Then I grabbed a sticky note and wrote, "Hi, Stephanie. Looks like you're feeling pretty comfortable using my driveway, so I figured I'd make myself at home too. Let me know when you're ready to talk like adults." Slapped it on her windshield and walked inside. I popped some popcorn, put on Netflix, and waited. She came banging on my door 2 hours later like she was the FBI with a warrant. "You can't block me in, that's illegal," she screeched the moment I opened the door. I leaned against the doorframe, real calm. So is parking on private property without permission. But hey, we all make choices. She was fuming. Red in the face, hands flying everywhere, voice climbing octaves. "I already told you it's not really private property." "Funny you say that," I said, and pulled out my phone. "Because the city just emailed me. Want to see the message? Spoiler alert, it is." And man, watching her face go from smug to stunned was honestly better than any reality show I've ever seen. "You're being so dramatic," she muttered, backing away like I just cursed her bloodline. "Nah," I said. "I just want to use my driveway without having to file a police report every week." She stomped off in a full tantrum, muttering about calling the HOA, except we don't even have one. But sure, call the neighborhood council of make-believe. At that point, I thought maybe she'd back off. I was wrong. Stephanie wasn't done. She was just getting started. I used to think Stephanie was just a nuisance, a bratty neighbor with no sense of boundaries. But after that meltdown on my porch, I realized something bigger. She wasn't going to stop. Not because she needed my driveway, but because she couldn't stand being told no. This wasn't about parking anymore. It was about control. That's when I stopped reacting and started strategizing. See, up until that point, I was just trying to make her go away. But now I wanted proof. I wanted leverage. I wanted a way to shut this down permanently and make sure she never tried this again. Not with me, not with anyone. So I went into full prep mode. Step 1. I upgraded my camera game. The old security cam I'd slapped above the garage was good, but now I added one more, angled perfectly to catch the whole driveway in 1080p glory. Motion activated, night vision, time-stamped. This was no longer just about catching her in the act. I needed airtight evidence in case this ever went to the cops or, God forbid, small claims court. Step 2. I got the city's zoning office to mail me an official letter, not just an email. Thick envelope, city letterhead, legal definitions and all. It clearly stated that my driveway was part of my deeded private property. No ambiguity, no easement, no shared anything. This was my smoking gun. And then, I waited. Didn't take long. 3 days later, I come home and sure enough, there's Stephanie's SUV, again, right in the middle of my driveway. She wasn't home. There were no groceries, no unloading, no activity at all. Just her car, chilling like it belonged there. I didn't even flinch. I parked behind it, again, blocking her in. This time, I didn't leave a note, didn't knock, didn't do anything. I just went inside, made a sandwich, and caught up on emails like it was any other Tuesday. 2 hours later, bang, bang, bang on the door. I open it slowly, and there she is. Face flushed, hair a mess, rage practically vibrating off her. "You need to move your car right now," she barked. I smiled. "Stephanie," I said, "you're trespassing." Again. "This isn't trespassing, I told you. This driveway is public easement." I held up the envelope. Not according to the city of Nashville. She froze. I took out the letter, unfolded it right there, and pointed to the highlighted section. See this? It's private property. Your car is illegally parked. Again. She didn't even know what to say. Just kind of sputtered and flailed and, of course, pivoted to victim mode. I can't believe how petty you're being about this, she muttered, voice trembling, maybe from anger, maybe from realizing she'd officially lost the upper hand. I just needed to park for a little while. And I just needed to get into my own house, I shot back. Funny how that works. She stormed off like a cartoon villain without a plan B. And for a minute, I thought maybe this was the moment she finally got it. The facts were clear. The warning signs were there. Surely now, with legal proof in her face, she'd back off. But nope. 2 days later, I wake up and glance out the window, and I swear, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Her SUV was back. But not just parked. It was parked diagonally, taking up the entire width of the driveway. I couldn't get my car out. I couldn't even walk through it comfortably. That's when I knew she wasn't just stubborn. She was trying to provoke me, trying to start something bigger, maybe hoping I'd snap and do something she could call the cops about. But see, I'd already learned my lesson. No more yelling. No more back and forths. Just action. I grabbed my phone, snapped a few clear photos, then I called the towing company. Hi, I said calmly. I've got an illegally parked vehicle on my private property. I need it removed. The dispatcher didn't ask many questions. Turns out, this wasn't their first Stephanie. An hour later, I was sitting on my porch with a cup of coffee and a lawn chair when the tow truck pulled in. And man, the timing couldn't have been more perfect. The driver had just finished hooking up her SUV when Stephanie came flying out of her house, screaming like she'd caught someone stealing her dog. "What are you doing? You can't tow my car," she shrieked. The driver didn't even blink. "Ma'am, the owner of this property requested the removal. Your vehicle is unauthorized." She turned to me, full meltdown mode. "You're going to regret this. I'll call the police." I sipped my coffee. "Please do," I said. "I've got footage, timestamps, official documentation. Let's go." That's when it hit her. This wasn't a game anymore. The tide had turned. And now? I had the upper hand. The tow truck pulled away with her SUV still hoisted up, and Stephanie just stood there, barefoot on the driveway she still claimed wasn't mine, shaking with disbelief. She looked like someone who just lost a poker game after going all in on a pair of twos. Honestly, I felt a little bad for her, for like 5 seconds. Then I remembered the way she talked to my dad, the way she dismissed me every single time I asked for basic respect, the fact that she treated my private property like her own personal overflow parking. That feeling of guilt? Gone. Later that evening, I got a knock on the door. But it wasn't Stephanie. It was my neighbor Mark from 2 doors down. He stood there with a drink in hand and this amused look on his face. "Dude," he said, "I heard the tow truck from my living room. Tell me you finally had her car hauled off." "Sure did." He laughed and shook his head. "About time. She's been pulling crap like this with everybody. Blocking driveways, letting her dog crap on my lawn, filling up our trash bins. My wife swears she's been dumping Amazon boxes in ours for months." Apparently, I wasn't the only one she'd been tormenting, but I was the first to push back. The next morning, I woke up to a note taped to my door. It was written in what I can only assume was her angriest cursive. "Hope you're happy ruining your reputation in the neighborhood. Some people are so selfish." Selfish? Me? For wanting to use my own driveway? I actually framed the note and hung it in the garage, right above where she used to park. It made me laugh every time I saw it. For about a week, everything was blissfully quiet. No unexpected SUVs, no loud banging on my door, no arguments. I honestly thought it was over. But Stephanie wasn't done yet. Nope. She still had one last act of petty revenge up her sleeve. It was a Tuesday morning. I went out to take the trash to the curb like I always do. But when I reached the end of the driveway, I froze. There, sitting right on my property line, were 3 enormous bags of trash, along with a busted-up folding chair, a broken lamp, and, cherry on top, what looked like a moldy cat tree. Taped to one of the bags was a handwritten sign that said, "If you don't want to share, here's all your space back." It was so ridiculous, I actually laughed out loud. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I pulled out my phone, took a bunch of clear, time-stamped photos, then wheeled everything right back across the street and left it on her lawn. I thought that was the end of it. But of course, it wasn't. That afternoon, I got another knock on the door. This time, it was the cops. And behind the officer, standing with her arms crossed like she was waiting for a standing ovation, was Stephanie. The officer cleared his throat politely. "Sir, your neighbor says you've been harassing her and dumping garbage on her property." I blinked. "She what?" Stephanie chimed in, her voice suddenly soft and wounded. "I just don't feel safe anymore. He's been so aggressive ever since I accidentally parked in his driveway. I don't know what to do." And I kid you not, she even added a sniffle at the end, like she was auditioning for some suburban Hallmark drama. But I was ready. "Oh, officer, I'm so glad you're here," I said with a smile. "Let me show you something." I pulled out my phone, opened the photo album labeled Stephanie Files. Yes, I made one. And showed him everything. Photos of her car blocking my driveway, timestamps going back weeks, the official city letter showing the property lines, and, best of all, video footage from my security cam of her dragging those trash bags onto my property that very morning. Stephanie's face went pale. All the color just drained out of it. I was just trying to make a point," she stammered. "He's been so rude." The officer raised a hand. "Ma'am, I don't see any evidence of harassment here, but I do see illegal dumping and repeated trespassing." He turned to me. "Would you like to press charges?" You could have heard a pin drop. Stephanie's mouth fell open like she forgot how to close it. I gave her a long look, then smiled. "No, I don't think we need to go that far. I just want her to stop." The officer nodded. "Understood, but I'm filing a report, and if this happens again, she will face fines. Possibly more." He made her clean up the trash immediately, right there in front of me. She didn't say a word, just picked up the bags and carried them back like a kid being forced to clean their room. I gave her a cheerful wave. "Thanks for stopping by, Stephanie." She didn't wave back, but I could feel it, that shift in the air. That final snap where someone realizes they've officially lost. She had tried everything, manipulation, lies, tantrums, and none of it worked. And now, she couldn't do a damn thing, not without the whole neighborhood watching. After that day, Stephanie never parked in my driveway again. Oh, she still gave me dirty looks when she walked past. Sometimes I'd catch her muttering to herself under her breath, probably rehearsing a comeback she never got to say. But the days of blocked driveways, passive-aggressive notes, and garbage statements were finally over. Word about the whole thing spread fast. Apparently, when the tow truck rolled in and hauled her precious SUV away, it was the talk of the neighborhood. People came out onto their porches like it was a live show. And once the police got involved? Yeah, Stephanie's rep as Queen of Entitlement crumbled overnight. Turns out, I wasn't the only one she'd messed with. Mark next door finally started locking up his trash bins after catching her accidentally dumping bags in his. The couple across the street, who'd been silently dealing with her letting her dog run wild, started speaking up too. It was like the entire block realized, hey, we don't have to put up with her crap anymore. Funny how one tow truck and a few well-placed cameras can change the whole vibe of a street. And then, like icing on a very satisfying cake, 2 weeks later, a moving truck showed up in front of Stephanie's house. At first, I thought maybe she was doing some redecorating. But no. Boxes, furniture, even the weird cat tree she'd dumped in my driveway, everything was going. She was moving out. I don't know if she broke her lease or just couldn't handle being publicly exposed, but one thing was clear. The neighborhood had officially called her bluff. No one was playing along anymore, and I couldn't resist one last touch. Right after the truck pulled away, I grabbed a stick of sidewalk chalk and wrote, in big letters at the end of my driveway, "Vacancy, no Stephanies allowed." Was it petty? Absolutely. Do I regret it? Not even a little. Honestly, this whole experience taught me a lot. About boundaries, about standing your ground, and about how important it is to document everything when someone starts crossing the line. People like Stephanie count on you staying silent. They thrive on you not wanting to make a scene. But once you do, once you draw that line and back it up with proof, game over. So yeah, now every time I pull into my driveway, clear, peaceful, blessedly Stephanie-free, I smile a little. Because I know if anyone else ever tries something like that again, I'm ready. Thanks for sticking with me through the chaos. If you enjoyed this story, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss the next one. I've got plenty more neighborhood drama where that came from. Stay petty, stay prepared, and I'll see you next time.